it means that you'll be able to watch it at a later time. So it's now recording. So just for a quick overview of what we're going to do today, we're going to touch base on what is APICTA, some travel preparations that you need to consider to prepare for your trip. We've got a sample budget because we know that you probably need to get approvals from management and all that, and we've already sort of set one up for you so you know what to expect. We've got our schedule, so what's going to happen on each day, and the timetabling, and Fulvio will also go through the judging structure and processes as well, which is very similar to the iAwards structure, which is an advantage that Australia has. And of course, we'll have some time for questions at the end. Okay, so APICTA is the Asia Pacific ICT Alliance Awards. There's, I think, 16 countries that are taking part from the Asia Pacific region that all come together to celebrate innovation. And this year it's held in October. So they do advertise it's the 9th to the 13th of October, but you can actually start arriving from the 10th to the 13th. Sorry, from the 10th. And then the gala dinner will be held on the 13th. So when you're planning your travel dates, you can actually look at arriving on the 10th. And it's held in Guangzhou in China. So we've got some pictures from last year. Let me bring this over here. And you can see the full slide. So we've got some pictures from last year, our 2017 and our 2016 team as well. So we've been taking part in APICTA for, I think, since it probably started. And Australia was one of the founding organisations for APICTA. So why should you attend APICTA? So we've got a testimonial here from Zach McLennan, who is from RMIT University, and he was a winner of the R&D category at the iAwards last year. And so for him, attending APICTA was a great opportunity for giving his innovation the platform for exposure for media and PR. And it also helped him realise what challenges were taking place globally, and really sort of tap into that international market, make connections. As I said, there's 16 countries that are taking part in APICTA, and we've got judges that are represented from those countries, so lots of international exposure there. And I might also add, which I forgot to mention, but all merit recipients and winners from the National Gala Dinner, which we had last week, are eligible for APICTA. So it doesn't matter what award you took home, either a winner or a merit. This opportunity is for you guys. And we'll hear now from Sarah Khalifa. So Sarah is from Data61 CSIRO, and she created Key Sense, and we're going to hear from her now, and she can just give some insight into her experience with APICTA and why you should go. And Sarah actually has to run and attend a meeting after this, so if you've got any questions for her, we'll just hold off till she's finished, and then we can quickly ask her and then continue with the presentation. So Sarah, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Yes, you're there, we can hear you. Awesome, great. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I think my insight here or tip is you should go. It's great experience, which I have gone through, the whole experience definitely from the beginning of iAwards, but particularly APICTA was great to like present our innovation at international level. So it gave us sort of wider industry exposure for our innovation, and it was excellent opportunity to meet and build up like relationships at international level with active investors, peers, and like-minded technological people. So it's really excellent opportunity that like all winners or merit recipients through iAwards should make use of. And my tip, if I could give, could be like be confident. Like you are not only presenting yourself or your innovation, but actually you are presenting Australia and really the creative and pioneering ideas that we are able to produce. So it's a great opportunity. Make use of it and go with focus and confidence that we are changing the world.
Thanks, Sarah. So, does anyone have any questions for Sarah now from a participant perspective? We're going to go through all the logistics later on, but if there's any questions, maybe you can put them into the chat box, and we can sort of answer some now. If not, we will probably keep moving.
Yeah, I will be able to stay for another 10 minutes to 15 minutes. So if you have got any question in mind and you would like to write it down in the chat, I should be able to answer.
Okay, awesome. All right, we'll move along. Thanks so much, Sarah.
No worries.
We've got one from Justin. How did Data 61 see this opportunity? So we probably have some merit and award winners from Data 61. So how did your organisation see this opportunity?
Yeah, it was actually highly perceived as confirmation somehow of the industry validation of the technology. So I was actually applying in the research and development category. So my innovation was still at the level of research and development, but with the awards that we were able to achieve through iAwards and APICTA, it was sort of validation that our work is highly perceived by the industry, not only at the research level. So I think like Data 61 perceived it very well, and recently I have got like our team got internal and external funds to proceed with the technology and start exploring commercialization, and not only exploring commercialization, but even selectively like choosing like which commercialization path we should go through to validate the technology. We have also some IPs around our technology, like we have submitted 3 patent applications, and we are going now to like submit the international application in different countries. And because like we have proven the industry validation of our technology, Data 61 now is happy to take the technology further and submit those patent applications for different countries to protect the IP. So somehow, you know, the iAwards and APICTA helped us to prove that our technology is not only at the research level, but it has validation from the industry, and this was clear to Data 61 to take our technology and support it to be taken to the next level.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. We might move on, if there's no further questions, to the next slide. And if there's any more, we'll just you can just pop it into the chat box. So I guess we're kind of on a really tight deadline, and this is only because APICTA is so close. Sorry, it's in October, so we need to work fast. And there's lots of events taking place in October outside APICTA, which you can also take advantage of as well. But we just need to start confirming accommodation and things like that. So the nominations. If you do decide to take up APICTA, we would need you to submit your nomination form this Thursday, the 6th of September. And I'll be around to answer any of your questions in that process, but we really do need to stick to that timeline. So we need to know sort of how many people from your team will be travelling, and the next steps will also be to not only book accommodation, which they've held for us until Thursday, so that's why we need to know by Thursday. But the next step is visas, which could take up to 10 working days, and I can then organise an invitation letter for you as well, and then you can start sort of the visa process. So that's kind of travel preparation. Fulv, did you have any other things on that, or move on to the next slide? Fulv, yep, right, we can hear you.
All right, I'm just looking because it disappears from the screen. No, that basically covers it all. It's not ideal this year that it's so soon. Normally it's held in November, early December, but because there's quite a large small medium business show on at the same time, which attracts over 1 million people, it's they've had to align it to that event. So again, not ideal, but it's a great opportunity nonetheless. So essentially, yeah, we just need to know. They've given us an extension given the timing of iAwards, but we really need to get these nominations in on the 6th. So if you can do that, it'd be much appreciated. It'll be worth your while.
Awesome. Now, you've been Fulv to Guangzhou, so did you want to sort of talk on, I guess, what to expect and just these sort of general points?
Yeah, unlike many of the previous countries that we've actually held APICTA, particularly the development countries, Guangzhou is essentially a developed country. So it's a very large city with very good structures and from a safety perspective, there's nothing to worry about there. It's a clean city. It's a very busy city. And for those of you that have been to a place like Singapore or Hong Kong, it's very similar on that scale. But in terms of preparing, I mean, they are quite a formal society, particularly around going to events and so forth. Not to the extent of letting for men a suit and tie, but certainly, they're not into that whole. T-shirt, work hub type attire, so they are quite formal. But apart from that, just in public, it's fine. You can wear your T-shirt, shorts, or whatever. It's going to be slightly cooler when I was there a couple of months ago, but they're very, very highly organised. They'll have we inspected where they're going to be conducting the presentations. Although they're going to cover off, Wi-Fi in the rooms, that you should probably have a spare phone just as a backup. And it's pretty much those of you that are on Telstra and Optus. There's reciprocal arrangements with data plans and voice plans, which makes it quite cheap to still run data through that. But I think you should be fine with Wi-Fi. There's lots of public Wi-Fi around anyway. And I think probably the most important thing around electronics is obviously bring a power board. So with surge protecting. So that's probably the most important thing there. And I think it's pretty much it's like walking into a Western type country. It's particularly in that city. So I don't think you'll notice there might be a lot to need to adapt to.
Awesome. Do we need? I know that Facebook and all that is sort of restricted, and the best way that people communicate is WeChat. Do we need any sort of VPN if we want to access sort of our own, even Gmail, I think as well, things like that to consider.
Yeah, I think I would manage to access my Gmail and Outlook with no problems. Probably the main thing, obviously, is Facebook. That's inaccessible. Some of you may suffer withdrawal symptoms from that, but in some instances it does. Occasionally it did work. It was pretty weird, but it all depends on the network, the way the networks are configured and how public they really are. But I think at the moment, WhatsApp worked on occasion because I think it looks at where the number is, so it's a local number. But I think best everybody registers with downloads WeChat and uses that for speaking with each other. So, but more or less everything else worked fine. And again, and the public social network things that don't work, then you're only going to be away from it for 3 or 4 days. So
yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you can get your emails, and that's a good thing.
Emails, exactly.
Alrighty, so these are the suggested accommodations. So the Garden Hotel is fully booked. That's reserved for the judges, but I have tentatively reserved the Asia International Hotel for us, and that's because Crown is almost full as well, the Crown Plaza. So the top sort of 2 is where we're looking at, but predominantly the Asia International Hotel. So when you confirm your place, I will then put forward accommodation at the Asia International Hotel. You can see the price there at $74 a night. And what we do is I'll sort of coordinate it with the hotels, and then you'll organise payment, I believe, on sort of when you check in as well. But I know that there are so many other events going on that this is something that they're stressing that we do sort of ASAP. So we need to do that kind of by the Thursday if we can. So the Crown Plaza as well is the main venue where APICTA will be held. So all the judging will take place there, all the registrations, things like that, and Fulv might be able to talk about that more. But this is kind of just some slides on, I guess, what the hotels look like. They're, I think they're all 5-star. Fulv, anything about accommodation in particular that you wanted to mention?
No,
that's it?
Less important about the accommodation, more importantly than the accommodation, although a lot of the events are being held at, or all of it is being held at the Garden State Hotel, we probably need to just outline that there may be limited availability for the gala dinner in terms of how many from each team is going to be able to attend. I'm trying to get that. I think they're just being overly cautious, but there is a risk that at the gala dinner itself that you may be limited as to the number of people that can attend from each team. We'll confirm that as soon as we can. I think they're expecting larger numbers than I think they're going to get, so it may not be an issue, but we just need to note that I'm certainly suggesting that given that we'll have a relatively small contingent compared to the hundreds that attend from other economies, that that hopefully they'll again, we're travelling from the furthest location, that they'll allow all members of all teams to be able to attend. But just bear in mind that may happen. That you may need to limit that representation. That's what I really wanted to cover off there. The accommodation, it's well priced, and the hotel's relatively new, so generally you should be okay with the level of accommodation commensurate with the price you're paying for it. And
they're all close proximity to each other, which is also important, and it's close proximity to the convention centre, which has the sort of other events that are not coordinated by APICTA, but other events going on that Fulv mentioned taking place as well. So it's all quite close. Yeah, and there'll be shuttle services between. So if you're staying at a hotel, if it happens to be a little bit further away from the Garden State Hotel, there'll be logistically you'll be looked after in terms of getting in and out of the from hotel to the venue itself. So to judging. For judging and to attending other events. Yep. So I've put together this sort of draft budget. so you can have an understanding of what to expect. So obviously, attending APICTA is paid by the entrants. AIIA, which is iAwards, we pay for the nominee entry fee into APICTA. So just how you submitted your entry into the iAwards, AIIA will pay for your nomination into the program. But all expenses related to travel, accommodation, food, etc., and even to attend the gala dinner, that will be paid at your own expense. So this is just a draft here. Fulv did mention the gala dinner. There is sort of a limit on that, but we have been told each entrant will get one complimentary ticket, and then for any other tickets, it will be $100 US per person after that. So I'm not sure if there is a limit yet, but we'll confirm all these details as we get closer. Fulv, is there anything about budgets? Anything else, or?
No, I think that just about covers it. Something had just occurred to me, but it's just that hopefully it'll come back to me. But I think no, that covers it all in terms of what you know.
Yeah.
For, yeah.
Lucas has a question. So will we know if we have a place at the gala dinner before we book our flights? Every entrant will get one complimentary ticket.
Correct.
So rest assured, there is a spot for you there. But in terms of how many tickets we have available, that's sort of pending on numbers. And APICTA are sort of in the process of collecting all the nomination forms this week. It was actually due last week, but there's a few countries like us that are a bit behind. So once I know those numbers, then we'll be able to communicate properly how many tickets you can have to the gala dinner. But I was told last week, one complimentary, and anything after that, it will be at $100 US, but I'm not sure if there's a cap on the $100 US as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty, cool. Okay, so I've communicated this to our primary and secondary students, but there is a government grant for STEM activities for international competitions. I know last year one of our students attended using this grant, and the grant is for a maximum of $5,000 per student. And we understand as well some students might need, will need primary and secondary guardians to accompany them. So that should hopefully cover that. And if you're a big group as well, then the maximum grant per application is $20,000. So it does take a few weeks to process, so you would have to commit that you will be attending APICTA sort of no matter what, pending on this government grant, because we need to book your place in the program, accommodation and all that. So you probably won't know if you get the grant if you apply for it by Thursday, but it's just something that I wanted to reiterate and just to remind you that it is still open, and I know that there is still funding available. Yeah.
So I think in addition to that, Liz, there's I think the federal government or some state governments have export development grants, and I think you should be, given that you're attending a seminar promoting your product or solution, maybe able to be covered by that as well. So you may want to investigate. When I say you, I'm talking about to the nominees, your ability to leverage the export development grant as well, to assist with some of those expenses. But again, you don't have a lot of time between now and Thursday to know whether you're actually going to get it. But I know some in the past have successfully been able to secure some funding through that. When they get back, they get reimbursed.
Yeah, awesome. Did you want to speak to this, Fulv?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So essentially this is self-explanatory. As Liz mentioned, there's probably no need to get there on the 9th. A lot of it's all internal logistical type things in preparation for the for day 2. And essentially you only need to be there on day 2 for equipment testing, and obviously to register when you get there. There'll be designated timetables in terms of when each of you can go and do an equipment test to make sure that your laptops and all that sort of stuff works. You've got internet connectivity, you've got Wi-Fi. All that's the purpose of that meeting, of that time. Some nominees thought they could use that time to do a dry run of their presentation. You can't do that. It's essentially it's 10 or 15 minutes to basically test your equipment and get in and get out. Then on day 3 is really when the judging starts, and it's basically 2 full days of judging. We'll advise as soon as possible as to the schedule, as to when you're going to be judging, because when you're going to be judged, because there's a couple of days where you may want to take the opportunity to visit the expo, and they'll organise buses to get you there for that. And then there is on day 4, on the 12th, there's a couple of internal forums are going to be organised that you're obviously invited to attend. There's some things around junior and tertiary student. I've got to get more information about what that APICTA studio is. That's a new one. But there's also going to be internal startup forum and obviously new tech type forums that you're invited to participate in. On the evening of the day 3 and day 4, they're just basically good excuses to get together and network. The Guangzhou night's going to be held at the Garden State Hotel, and I think the Hong Kong night's going to be held at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Again, there'll be buses to get you to and from those locations. The events don't go on for very long. Generally speaking, they're 2 to 3 hours. The Hong Kong night, is only 2 hours, but they use that opportunity to showcase Hong Kong innovation and technology. But it's quite a good night to go to because there's a lot of investors frequent that night. It's not the most entertaining of nights, lots of speeches and so forth. The entertainment night's really the Guangzhou night, the night before. They'll do some special things there. And obviously the award and gala dinner, which is obviously finishes with that. So the day during that day, on day 5, it's basically free time. You can do tours of the city. I think they're organising buses to get people around there. But I think that, there's obviously concurrently going through all of that. There's that the China International SME Fair, which is a huge do over there, over 1 million guests. And then obviously if you want to hang around for the week after, there's the Canton Fair, which I don't know a lot about. But essentially, the key thing you need to worry about is what happens on the end of day 2, which is the testing, which is really important to take the opportunity to do that. Day 3 and 4, and what we're trying to organise is a visit to the Australian Embassy. We're just locking in when we're able to do that. It's likely to be sometime over day 3 or 4 potentially, because the embassy's not open on a weekend. But we'll try and do it, organise in a way that most of you get the opportunity to be able to attend. That's
all
it
right.
from me. Yep.
Yeah. And the embassy visit is usually with the Austrade, sort of the team.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, so full mention about those, but we've got some concurrent events taking place as well, which you can see there. So Fulv can speak about the judging structure, the categories, and things like that.
Yeah, okay. So this won't take very long because you've all just gone through the iAwards process. I didn't say congratulations up front for you to getting this far, and I think the opportunity to participate in Guangzhou, particularly this year, given that it takes a whole new scale and the amount of people that will be attending to a whole new level as opposed to previous years. So if you do get the opportunity, you should really leverage it. But essentially, you'll find this is quite familiar to the way iAwards is structured. They've taken the iAwards structure, taking on 100%. So essentially, the categories are the same as ours. There are some slight differences regarding subcategories. So when you nominate, you'll nominate for the head category as you do at iAwards, and then you will then be able to, unless you've won in. So, for example, in startup and R&D, which is slightly different, you will still need, if you won in that category at iAwards, you will still need to nominate the head category that you nominated for at iAwards, because you can't just connect to the startup area. Even though if you didn't win a head category, you still need to nominate for that head category in order to qualify for any of the cross categories. So if you won, big data analytics this year, you still need to nominate for the head category that you originally nominated for at iAwards in order to get to APICTA. So essentially, by default, anyone that's won a cross category at iAwards will be presenting twice at APICTA. So that's really important to note. And those of you that won a head category, then you obviously just present and nominate for that head category. You'll also be asked, if appropriate, if you believe it fits into one of the subcategories. So if you're in consumer and you focus on a retail distribution app, then you would nominate for that as well. This is purely, this is very similar to what we do at iAwards. We don't advertise iAwards like this. It just enables the judges to get similar numbers of participants in each of the different categories. What we're trying to avoid is nominees, some nominees competing in categories that have up to, 18 people, 18 entries, and some that only have 4 or 5. So what may happen is there may be, if there's a lot of entries in the, say, consumer, banking, insurance and finance subcategory, we'll group them up and there'll be 2 consumer head category awards. So it's just to normalise the number of people that nominees are over the different categories. So that's what that is for. It doesn't mean that automatically you'll be competing in the consumer / banking and insurance finance award. That will only happen if there are sufficient numbers that warrant that. Otherwise, you'll just be competing with everybody else in consumer, and that applies to the different head categories as well. So hopefully that's clear for people. Again, there should be no surprises there. We are in a good position because you do understand how the process works. And I think Malaysia and ourselves, and to a lesser extent Hong Kong and Singapore, do follow this framework or intend to follow this framework. You guys have essentially had a bit of a head start because we are following it because we designed it, so it's good. So I think it's all I really got to cover off there, Liz.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I understand that if you've won in startup, you need to select a head category. But what happens if you won in a head category for the iAwards? Do you have the option to choose a cross category as well?
We can do that if that's up to us, and I think if people want to, that one in a head category want to nominate, we don't want. It'll all depend on what is available, because what we don't want to happen is disadvantage those that did win in startup and then having a fellow submission that didn't win startup at iAwards competing unnecessarily. So at the moment, we like to keep it that way. Let's see who nominates, who of the cross-category nominee winners from iAwards do nominate, and then we'll give the option to the head categories to see whether or not there's an opportunity to compete in the other ones. So,
all right.
On the surface, I don't see there'll be an issue, but
yeah,
at this stage, I like to just take that on notice. Let's see what expressions of interest we do get.
Yeah,
we may offer it up.
Okay, so I think when you're completing your nomination form, which I'll send around, it's in an Excel spreadsheet, put forward those categories. I'll obviously do the cross-reference, and then if we've got any that, well, I'll speak to full, then we'll sort of work out if you're approved in those categories or not. But it's the category that you won in or you received the merit in. So that's sort of how we're going to do it. We do have a few questions in the chat about categories. Let me just... can we jump into new categories, or are we bound? Yep, so I think Rico, great question, and I think sort of Fulvio explained that. So it's choose only the categories that you received an award in, but if you received an award in the cross categories, either sort of stage, the R&D or startup, or technology, then you must choose a head category. So AI is listed under the technology categories.
So you'll need to nominate for the head category that you applied for at iAwards, even though you didn't win it. You just can't apply for the technology one on its own. You must nominate for one of the head categories.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all questions about the categories. If we've got more. Okay, what every category will be represented. So just think about, Fulvio, you're probably the best person to answer this.
Sorry, Liz. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by Akash's question about what if your category isn't on the list. Well, these are the same categories are at iAwards, so I'm not quite sure why that would ever happen. Don't be too concerned about if the subcategory, the yellow boxes under the main ones, there'll be an option there for an other, right? It's just purely for internal groupings for, as I said to you before, to normalise the numbers of nominees and to make sure that it maximises the opportunity for nominees to, to win an award. Okay, so you'll at least have the head categories sorted out, like consumer, inclusions, industrial, business services, public sector. They're the iAwards ones. So you would have applied for one of those at iAwards. Regarding infrastructure and platforms, that's a good question. With infrastructure and platforms, that is actually going to be covered off under, let me just look at here. I think it's under business services. So, Akash, with the infrastructure and platforms, there's it'll be under the ICT services solutions, which is a subcategory under business services. So that is a good point. Apologies for that, but so those of you in that category, will only just be the one of you, will need to nominate under business services. That will be your category.
Awesome.
So yes, so the other question, we need to nominate for head category and also AI, correct? So you'll nominate for community services and then you'll nominate for AI.
We'll keep moving along. If there's more questions, we can come back to the sort of the structure.
Yes, I think I've just noticed, I've just probably mentioned here, we'll have the timetable so you know when you're judging, what day you're judging, particularly those that perhaps can't stay for the whole period. And each nominee must report. Yeah, so there's essentially logistics around getting there earlier. Very, very similar to the whole process we did for iAwards. There should be no surprises here. And then you'll get ushered in. So yeah, I don't think there needs to be a lot to cover off here. I guess the judges, and we'll have a separate nominee briefing for those of you that do wish to attend, and we'll give you some tips about how to structure your presentation so it actually hits the mark. There are slight differences, there's cultural differences. Some judges have English as a second language, but we'll cover that off probably in more detail. But yeah, there's 3 to 4, sometimes maybe 5 on a judging panel. Again, very similar to this year, you have a 3-minute, there's slightly more time for Q&A. So 3 minutes set up, 10, and 2. And obviously all nominations you'll be presenting in English, which won't be an issue for Australia, hopefully. Just avoid slang and Aussie terms like fair income and sangers and stuff like that. So they won't get any of those terminologies, or nor our sarcastic humour either. But essentially, yeah, it's quite clinical the way you do it. There's still room for obviously, you know, personality, but we just basically keep it to we keep it to the point. Again, you need to provide all your own laptops, adapters, power cords, and so forth. I noticed some of the plugs will fit Australian plugs, but just be on the safe side. Bring that with you. And of course, Wi-Fi is available, and it's pretty good Wi-Fi as well. But you know, the backup is only if there's a disaster. But I think if there is a disaster, there'll be a lot of people in the same boat as you. So have a backup just so we're organised. But I doubt that you'll need it. Again, still use your format for nationals. We had the high, the how, the why, what, and how. But this really goes back to your level, to your phase 1 structure in terms of uniqueness, market potential, functionality. That they're the criteria, and really it's important that your presentation is structured in that way. So whatever you used for the face-to-face at iAwards, you'll need to tweak these to be structured in this way. So, you know, sometimes it's probably best that you have like a slide called, you know, why are we unique? What's the uniqueness? What's the market potential? What are the functions and features? What's the quality, application technology, and so forth? So structure it that way, so you make it very, very simple, very, very easy for the judges to be able to assess. And then go to APICTA. It's .tw, is it still?
That could be. I just noticed that could be out of date. So we'll send you the right link. Yeah.
That will be out of date because it's different to last year. So yeah, we'll send you the link. But it's essentially that presentation, that slide, and it goes into the details with the descriptors and what the summary of each category is. Again, there's less to worry about there from Australia because we are following virtually, well, they're following the iAwards model virtually to the letter. So I don't think there should be any surprises there anyway. The next, nomination forms. So this is what I was mentioning before. So there's the, you define the head category and the subcategory purely for internal groupings and normalisation of nominee numbers. Then there's the others. So if your subcategory is not there, then you actually put in other, which is essentially what the theme of your presentation or nominee is. And then you nominate for the cross categories and the technology awards, and then the name of your organisation. I've only got a snapshot of it there, Liz, obviously, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of that.
Yeah, and we'll be here to help. So it's in a spreadsheet because what essentially is I'll compile everyone's nominations form and then import it into sort of their program. So this is sort of the easiest way to coordinate it. So that's why we've got it in a spreadsheet. But Fulvia and I are on hand if you've got any questions about how to fill it out.
Yeah, I just noticed there's a question: application and technology, application of technology and application different of judging criteria. I'm not quite understand the question. So should
I go back to
this
one?
Yeah. So the technology criteria are different. The judging criteria, it's very, very similar to what we do here in Australia. And I think you're probably referring to the infrastructure and platforms. Are you the same one that had that? Maybe it's best you go on. Do you want to go on to enable your microphone and just perhaps talk to us about that? Nabeen?
Nabeen, we can follow you up.
Yeah,
we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. If you go to the next slides where you have the criterias, so I find like there was application of technology, and then there was another for application application.
Slide, this one.
No.
After that?
After that.
After?
After
Keep going. That
yes,
one.
this one, yeah. So you have each category judged on 5.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's different. They are different. So the application of technology criteria is obviously will be different. So you'll need to you'll be given the criteria once we give you that link, that updated link, Liz. That'll have the breakdown of the criteria and the for each of them between quality of application, also for both technology crosscuts and the head categories.
Yeah.
If there's any, and I think what we'll cover off there, that'll be of the nominee briefing. We'll go into a bit more detail around that. Yeah, but certainly this nomination form is purely nominating, obviously, what you're going to be doing, and we've still got some time after the 6th to go through the structures and the structure your presentations to maximise the chances of obviously winning. So, don't be too concerned about not knowing that now.
So just a reminder, this form, so the Excel spreadsheet which I'll attach, which I've already kind of linked you. I've linked you to sort of the download form, but I'll reattach it in an email after this presentation. And I'll also send these slides and the download, the sort of the YouTube video recording of this as well. So you have a little pack afterwards, but just be mindful, those particular, that particular Excel spreadsheet, that's due on Thursday, the 6th of September. So it'll be great as well if you can indicate me after this webinar, just send me an email just to say, yes, I'm really interested, things like that, just so I can keep track and touch base with you just to see how you're tracking along with everything, and if you've got any questions we can sort of answer those between now and Thursday, because we do really need to stress that these need to be in by the Thursday. So
that's one bad point, Liz. If people can at least, it doesn't lock you in, but if you can at least say, yes, I'm interested in the next, like today or tomorrow, then that will allow us some options as to whether or not we have some spaces available in other categories for you to nominate for those. So, and Liz can get back to you on that. So the sooner we know if there is an interest of you wanting to attend, we can perhaps particularly those that only want a head category, to nominate for any tools, to give you the option to nominate for some of the other ones, depending on what the numbers look like. So the sooner we have that, we can start working through that now.
Yeah, totally. Alrighty, I think that was it. So are there any further questions that you have about the experience, about judging, about the process? I guess once we have your nomination forms in and we know that you want to take part and we know that what categories you're in, a lot of the bulk of the information will start coming in. So we've just got a question actually.
Can we ask the Melbourne judges why didn't we win and what could have been better?
Yeah, I can look at to see. I'll look at to see what judges feedback we have from your category, and we can feed that back in. And as Fulvio mentioned, we'll be having more briefings as well. Depending on how many people we have, we can sort of do some sort of mentoring opportunity as well, whether it's in a group or individually. We'll just have to see what numbers look like, but we'll definitely sort of help you prep. And I think feedback is a really good idea. So we can organise that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I know, and it means it's good to have judges' feedback. I mean, we can probably give you feedback depending on anything that will help your presentation along. Certainly, what we need to be careful of, Naveen, is not all the judges are available. There's only a very, very small handful that will be attending. APICTA, and generally the feedback is on if judges have made any comments, we can share those with you. But, you know, if it so happens that in your category that one of the judges is going to be involved, then, you know, obviously we want to maximise the chances of Australia winning as many awards as we can, because we obviously have the smallest number of nominations because we're so far away. But if we can, you know, get some presence in each of the categories, it puts us in a good opportunity to walk away with more. Generally, our performances are really good, commensurate with the number of nominations that do go in. So obviously, the higher number that we have, the better for us. So we generally perform very well, and we'll give you whatever coaching is necessary to maximise that opportunity for you. Okay, terrific.
All right, thanks, Rico. Any other further questions? I'm always here as well. You can always send me an email or give me a call. If I don't know, I can always ask Fulv as well. So we're always here on hand if you need us. But I think that might be it for the questions.
Terrific.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time today. Once again, congratulations on your iAward. It was a great night on Thursday, and I'm looking forward to sort of the next phase of the journey in China, and I hope most of you can join us. But yeah, let me know if there's any questions in the meantime, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck, everyone. Hope to see you all there. Cheers.
All right, bye.